and we've got Glenn on, defensive coordinator now at South Florida, and I was explaining, Glenn, I'm at Glow Salon, Liz's brand new building, beautiful, over here on Western, and I
Oh,
know
then,
Janine was a regular
yeah.
customer here.
I'll tell Janine later on. By the way, she said to say hello to you, Robert, and she'll be jealous. Who knows? She might make a flight out to Stillwater just to go by the new salon. Who knows?
Well, I know that it seemed like every time I did a remote here, Janine was here, and I know she liked Liz a lot. And Liz, likes her. And I tell you what, Liz used the pandemic to finish this new location off, and it's gorgeous. So
That's nice.
uh,
Good,
I've
good
been
for
known to
her.
get I've been known to get a pedicure here once or
I
twice.
heard that. Yeah, I didn't know if you were going to
So
mention that or if I was going to bring that up. But
no, that's
it's
okay.
good.
I'll bring it up. Hey, you
That
got to take care of those feet, man, when you're walking the sidelines.
I hear you. I hear you. That's awesome.
Hey, by the way, I just got off the phone during the break with a friend, an old friend of yours, that said to tell you hello. You'll see him here soon enough, hopefully, if God and the pandemic let us play football. But Mike Yursich is with his family, traveling
Oh,
in
great.
Utah on vacation. He said, "Tell Glenn I said hey."
That's awesome. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah, I wish I was out in Utah with him right now. Sounds
Well,
like a good visit.
how about that? You're the defensive coordinator at South Florida, and the first game for the Bulls, it's the Bulls and the Longhorns in Austin, and you get to square off against an old compadre in Mike Yursich.
Well, you remember my first game last year? What that was, Robert? Do you remember that? Do you know that?
Florida
When I was at Florida
Atlantic,
Atlantic versus
Ohio State.
Ohio State with Mike
Yeah,
Yurcich. Got to catch
you
up with
guys are
him
making a
on the way to
habit
the
of
game.
this.
Yeah, I know. I know. He's been with some good teams. Been with a lot of talent. I'm happy for him.
Well, and if I remember correctly, the Owls had a good showing in that game, didn't they?
Had a disastrous first quarter. Kids' eyeballs were huge, and
Yeah.
then we settled down and played them great the rest of the game. As a matter of fact, Mike, gave me a huge compliment. Our defense a huge compliment after the season. We were catching up, and he said actually our defense played them better than any Big Ten defense that year. So that was a huge compliment coming from somebody you respect a lot in the business. And I don't think he was just pumping my tires because we did. We played well, but unfortunately they count all four quarters, don't they, brother? And that first
Yeah,
one did us in.
they do. And before we get into all this stuff in South Florida, I want to go back because I had a chance, to talk to you about this, and I know during the game, Janine, because I was sitting at home watching Florida Atlantic play SMU in the bowl game, and I'm
Hmm.
texting back and forth with your wife, and I couldn't have been more excited because you're the interim head coach. Lane Kiffin had left. You're playing SMU, and you guys drove them. I mean, and
Yeah.
I know there were some decisions whether to go for it on fourth down or whether to try a fake and some of those things that that head coaches get to make, and you made all the right ones. That was a heck of a and the smile on your face when your guys carried you off afterwards. That was $1 million smile.
Yeah, it's priceless. Those experiences. What a blessing to be able to do that and go through that with those kids. If you only knew, if we had about an hour or two to talk, all the drama, all the valleys that we hit those 2 weeks before that game after Lane left. Oh, it was Robert. It was just unbelievable that we even got to the game itself, and for them to play their tails off the way they did, and luckily, Charlie Weiss Jr., who I'm with, Jeff hired him to run the offense here at South Florida, so both of us came. He did a great job that day on offense, and of course our guys had a tremendous year the entire year on defense. And yeah, we got after him pretty good. Shane Buechele on the other sideline. It's funny, you talk about that. I got to play him a year there at Oklahoma State. And then here I am, 3, 4 years later, playing them at SMU. And of course, the last time I was in Austin, I was playing Sam Ellinger, and here I am going back to play him his senior year. Last time I was there, I played him his freshman year. So that's what makes it a great sport. All the stories that are involved in it.
And I got to think too. I'm trying to cycle back with Sonny Dykes, but I've got to think you've matched up with him at some point in time, maybe when he was an OC or.
I don't remember that. We talked. Obviously, we had some functions during that week, and we talked and caught up, Robert. But I don't think we did. Of course, we have so many mutual friends. Being in that part of the country, that with his dad and all the ties that they have to the Big 12 coaches. But yeah, I mean, he was very complimentary after the game, and we all know what a tremendous job he did last year, really reconstructing that entire roster. Some great players, and they're explosive, and they came in one of the top ranked offenses in the nation, really explosive, and I mean, it was a good game for the FAU Owls, but yeah, and it was time to move on after that.
And it's kind of crazy because I know there's a lot of guys in that league you're in that I know. I mean, besides besides you being at South Florida, I know Alex Golish, who's a former GA at Oklahoma State, and he's good friends with Zach. With my son, Alex Golish is now over at UCF. Of course, Tulsa's in the league.
Last week, as a matter of fact. That's right.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. JJ
McCleskey, Jalen's dad, is coaching the secondary at Tulane. Of course, I know a bunch of dudes, that are at SMU. And then
how about the Memphis connection? You got David Glidden at Memphis.
David Glidden.
Here's a name for you: the head strength coach. Because my youngest Abe is getting the strength and conditioning. He's actually interning with Rob this summer. But Noah Franklin, head strength coach at Memphis. Remember that name, right?
That's right. Noah Franklin played at Oklahoma State. So,
well, we got Truman Carroll as the strength coach here, Robert. So again, that's just strength and conditioning is just like coaching, and Rob Glass has got a tremendous tree out there in the whole nation. So yeah, he's got a couple of his guys in this conference right now.
Well, and then there's a guy named Dana Holgerson that's coaching down the road at Houston. So.
That's great. Yep, that's great.
And I was looking at your schedule. Besides the opener with Texas, you play your old team, Florida Atlantic, and then those teams we just mentioned. In fact, in a row, Tulsa, Memphis, and Houston, all in a row. And of course, your rivalry game at the end of the line is Golish and those dudes over in Orlando.
Right, and they are just super, super talented. We played them last year, and they came over there to Boca, and it's much of a talented team as anybody offensively. I know in the Big 12 are so explosive. So yeah, that's going to be a tough one at the end.
Yeah, and I was looking at your group. You return the entire secondary, the starters back there. But after that, your front seven, you're going to have to do some retooling. What are your thoughts on what you inherited there at South Florida?
Robert, I know this isn't a cop out. I'm not dodging this question, but I can honestly say I really don't know. I mean, you think about it.
Because of the pandemic?
Yeah. We got in one practice before it all shut down. One practice, out there in pajamas. So I haven't gone through. What's bad is you haven't gone through any tough times with them. You haven't so much when you're installing a new defense and getting to know your kids. Part of spring ball in the off season is just kind of going through those valleys and having tough days and working through all those issues and testing them mentally and physically and getting them to respond to you, and all that was taken away. So, you look at some film from last year, that they had some ups and downs. Usually there's a reason there's a regime change, like there was here, and it's usually not good. But so far, I love their attitude, and as much as we can do meeting, online and things like that. They're hungry. They're hungry to win, hungry to be great, and if they have that kind of attitude, it'll be fun. But you're right. Talent wise, lost a little bit, but you got some quality guys coming back. And I'm just, gosh, I just like the rest of us that do this as a profession. It's just a strange, awkward year, and you're just chomping at the bit to get back and do what we do.
I'm kind of curious because I kind of know the way Oklahoma State did it. They've done all the Zoom meetings like everybody has, and Rob's tried to do the vertical, or not the vertical, virtual strength training until they got him back. June
Mm-hmm.
1, and they actually, I think, they were 2 days late. They were going to start June 15th. Actually, I think it was June 17th when they actually started getting the first groups back in the weight room, and those are those voluntary workouts.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that the OSU staff did was when the pandemic hit, they couldn't go on the road recruiting. They couldn't do any of the normal things you were doing in the spring. So they bumped up the June and July game planning, and they put in their game planning stuff early on. Is that something that you guys did at South Florida, just trying to find ways to make best use of time?
That was a big part of it. Another huge part of it, Robert, because you couldn't get out on the road recruiting, was this staff and Jeff Scott. Of course, he was the recruiting coordinator at Clemson for almost the last decade, and he's just been relentless. The recruiting aspect was huge. Talking to coaches every day. We laugh about it as kind of partners in the profession, but I tell you, I worked harder during those first couple months as far as time wise. You get on the phone, you start calling high school coaches, and in lieu of a visit, start talking to them and getting players, and then talking to your recruits, communicating with them, having them call you in the evenings, and it was just all day and night. Obviously, you do some game planning. Good friend of mine, Brent, Venables, we tossed back and forth ideas. And got to visit with him a little bit. Took a trip up there. So you do some professional development. We got to play Navy this year, and you mentioned all those other teams, and anybody can tell you anytime you go against that triple option, it's a pain in the rear. And Brent playing Georgia Tech all those years, he when he was at Clemson, that's always a good test. So you stay busy. There's so much to do. There's never enough hours in the day, even though you don't have spring practice. And if you're a pro, you want to be great. You take advantage of every minute of it. So we miss some things, but like you say, with game planning and recruiting, and you feel like you did some things that you wouldn't have gotten to do without this. So a lot of advantages that you could get on top of some things also.
And when you mentioned the Naval Academy and throwing that triple option in, I glanced down here at your schedule, and I can't think of a bigger nightmare for a defensive coordinator than to go from air raid one week to triple option the next. And that's exactly what you'll have to do with your guys. November 14th, you're at Houston. You'll go against Dana's. He's got Shannon
Mm-hmm.
Dawson back with him there, and they're going to be doing what they know how to do. And then you come back the next week at home with Navy and get ready for the cut blocks and the triple option.
Yeah, it's funny. I went against Shannon 2 years ago. He was at Southern Miss, so I got to meet up with him when I was at Charlotte. And anybody will tell you, because it is such a drastic change schematically, and some things you have to be sharp on. You always have to hit that in the off season. So we would have dedicated a day or two in spring ball, servicing ourselves and going through the option reads. So once we start back and we get the 8-hour week and the 20-hour week walkthroughs, that'll be a dedicated time, because like you say, when you got just basically 2 full practice days to prepare, there's no way. So you better hit it during the off season to try to kind of get up a couple days on it.
Yeah, that's crazy. Hey, before we let you go, and please tell Janine I said hello, and
course.
I know over at Boca when you were at Florida Atlantic, she probably reached out and some of her old horse racing friends down there at Gulfstream, and now I
Hmm.
know that Tampa's got Tampa Downs, so that she can catch a little bit of the horse racing crowd. But make
Right.
sure you tell her I said hey.
I
Um,
will.
what was it like? I got to ask you, what was it like working for Lane Kiffin? And we all know he's at Ole Miss, Mike Leach at Mississippi State. Everybody's kind of focusing on how that's going to make that Egg Bowl rivalry pretty doggone interesting. But Lane Kiffin is one of those guys that is kind of iconic in the character role. But how'd you like working alongside him?
First of all, that's not a wrap up question. When you ask me that one, you need to grab a cup of coffee and let's talk for a couple hours. When you ask me what that year is like, I you know me, Robert. There's a reason you go through things in life, and sometimes it's not till after it's over with that you say, yeah, thank you God, I loved it, love these kids, and get to do something different. Obviously, when Lane hired me, I didn't know him. He just knew me of my work. We had beat him that last game at Charlotte. Uh, he liked schematically. I've changed the last few years, really developed some new things, and he loved that. And big thing with him, he's an offensive guy. He told me he'd leave me alone, and he did. Never set one foot in my room the entire year, and we had productive kids on both sides of the ball. Very unique guy though. Got a good heart. The persona, that he throws out there on social media and all. It's like always. That's you got to know a man and what his heart is like, and he's got a big heart. Loves his dad. I had Monty Kiffin in my room all year as an analyst, and Monty's a dear friend. And again, I know you don't have much time, but my first weekend there, we're watching
No,
cut-ups.
Monty Kiffin. I'd like to spend a couple hours just listening to Monty Kiffin.
He's great. I gave him a buzz last week because he's still here in Tampa. Lane can't bring him up there to Oxford yet because of the COVID, of course, at Monty's age. But I was sitting there watching cut-ups my first week, and I'll throw in a little Tampa too every now and then as a change up. Good second long, third down deal. Real productive when I was doing it at Charlotte, and I'm watching the cut-ups, and I went, oh man, this is pretty cool. I'm sitting there trying to coach Tampa 2, and the guy invented it is in the room with me. So I just shut up. I said, Coach Kiff, why don't you talk to us right now? So that was a beautiful experience. Of course, you can't run it much, and he admitted that. He said, Glenn, this don't work in the college game. The quarterbacks keep the ball too much. But sure enough, we sprinkled it in there here and there, and had quite a few turnovers from it. But back to Lane, yeah, I mean, just a different guy. Marches to his own beat. Very unique. He's very good to me. Gave me an opportunity after things happened at Charlotte, which I thought they were, but brought me in a great situation, allowed me to win another conference championship down there and lead the nation in turnovers, and allowed me to do a lot of things to keep developing my stuff, and got a lot of respect for him, and I hope he does great there at Ole Miss.
Yeah, and this will be the wrap up. Like you said, you've done some game planning. I'm basically going to go right back to where we started the interview. How much of an advantage, because you are going to be working with some kids you don't know that well yet. You haven't been on the practice field with them that much. You're going to get an extra couple of weeks, but it's kind of more OTA type stuff until fall camp starts. It's more walkthroughs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it'd be great if they just gave you 6 weeks of football. I think coaches are smart enough. They'd be smart about how much they go full and so forth, but that's not the case. You got OTA stuff for a couple weeks, and you got fall camp. So how much of an advantage is it for you with your new kids and getting them squared away to really kind of know the guy pretty well that you're going against in the first game? I mean, you've gone against Yurcich in so many practices, and and kind of know him pretty well. Um, Granted, he's got a new group at Texas, but he'll probably be able to do most of his stuff with a veteran quarterback in Ellinger. But is that a little bit of an advantage at least? And you went against him last year when he was at Ohio State, although he wasn't the coordinator.
Right, and that's part of the issue. That's why I'm you kind of overloaded because I'm mixing his last year there at Oklahoma State and then Ohio State also because I know he'll take some of that, some of the things they were good at. We all do. But I could flip it and Robert and say the same thing to him. It's an advantage to him also to know me
Except
now.
Glenn, hey Glenn, you've kind of reinvented. I watching the Florida Atlantic game and some of your stuff at Charlotte. Yeah, you've tweaked some things.
Well, I'm doing this thing. It's really 30 float stuff that I was experimenting around in Charlotte, had some great days with it, and then kind of improved it a little bit and added on some stuff. But he saw that. He saw that at Ohio State too. And they've got tape. It's all on tape.
That's
so
true.
there's not a lot of secrets, Robert. And the disadvantage is just to not know, exactly, what they're going to try to do. Or that, are they going to run Sam as much as they did before? And we all know about their talent level down there, and Mike and the tempo that he likes to go at. You got to be prepared for so much, and usually it'll be about the third drive before you kind of know and say, all right, this is who they want to be. But besides that, that's the problem with the openers on both sides. And he's the same way with me. There's always that little doubt in your mind, and you're not sure exactly what's going to be thrown at you. But that's the fun part of it. I know he's just a talented offensive mind, and he'll tweak some things based on the talent that he has. The same way that we have to do wherever I'm at. So a lot of unknown, but he does know how to score points and move the ball. So it'll be a huge challenge, of course. They're really talented. They always are, and they always trot out a pretty bunch when they come out on the field. So it'll be fun. It'll be fun day.
Yeah, I hate to play them when you're at home and they wear all that all white. They look so dang good in those all whites. So
they always have, Robert. You know that, and I know that. But the Cowboys, we always did pretty good against them. During those days. So it'll be fun.
Well, hey, tell Janine, hey, I hope you guys stay safe with everything we got going on in the world, and I think I love you guys dearly and miss you and wish you the best, and
I
can't wait.
It, Rob. I'm actually headed out there tomorrow. I'm going to go see the boys this weekend before we get cranked up full time. Yeah, so I'll be down in the city and might cruise through Stillwater. But I'll be out there seeing my boys this next week. But thanks for the kind words, Robert.
Well, hey, if you're actually in the city, holler at me because I'm in Edmond. But hey, the other good thing is if COVID and the pandemic let us play as scheduled, and that's a big if. OSU plays that Thursday, so I'll be able to put my feet up and relax. I know you won't be, but I'll be able to do that and watch two of my buds go against each other. That'll be fun.
Yeah, I've got a few friends there. They've already mentioned they'll probably make a trip down to Austin that weekend. So hopefully give them something decent to look at.
Hey, Glenn, again, appreciate you coming on, and good luck with everything you got going there with the Bulls.
Thanks, Robert. Appreciate it. Take care, buddy.
All right. Okay. Glenn Spencer, former Oklahoma State defensive coordinator.